Bill for an Act to repeal the Student Loans Act 2023 passes second reading in the House of Representatives. House resolves to investigate arbitrary hike in price of cement by manufacturers in the country. And House receives FCTA 2024 budget for consideration and passage. Glad to know you've joined us on You and Your Reps. I am Victor, as welcome to the program. The House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill for an act to repeal the Student Loans Act 2023 and enact the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Bill 2024. President Bola Tinubu sent the executive bill to the Green Chamber with an appeal for expeditious consideration to enable quick commencement of the student loans policy.
Is commencement of debate.
The new Student Loans Access to Higher Education Bill 2024 seeks to, among other things, establish the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. When approved, the new body will receive, manage, and invest funds to provide loans to Nigerians pursuing higher education, vocational training, and skills acquisition.
Mr. Speaker, we have a president who is interested in expanding and deepening access to education for the poor.
The bill, as represented, has taken care of the issues of process of application. It has taken care of the issues of what is expected of applicants to place before the government, and in fact, repayment and sustainability procedures.
I support this bill not just because of what I and others have said, but because I see it as one of those that seeks to balance the gap in education for the rich and the poor.
Bill referred to the Committee on Student Loans, Scholarship and Higher Education Financing for further legislative action.
The House adopted some infrastructure motions.
Mandate the Committee on Works to investigate the delay in completing the Calabar E2 Ikore-Bene Road rehabilitation.
Urge the Federal Ministry of Works to construct Bukuru, Mejiju, Zandi, Das Road.
The price of cement in the country today is going through the roof at a time when many Nigerians are struggling to keep a roof over their heads. Now, lawmakers in the Green Chamber say this is totally unacceptable, considering that the raw materials for the manufacturing of cement are locally sourced. The House of Representatives has therefore resolved to investigate the arbitrary hike in the price of cement by cement manufacturers in the country.
The manufacturers of cement have capitalized on exchange volatility to arbitrarily increase the price of the product, whose cost of production has not changed significantly since last year.
The issue of cement is that of monopoly. The two biggest manufacturers are holding Nigerians to ransom. They bought government companies from Sokoto Cement to Benue Cement, are all government properties. The big cement producers have not been fair to the ordinary Nigerian people because we are looking at their balance sheets. These are people who donate billions to political parties, to politicians. But when it comes to helping ordinary people, the story is different. So I think they should be invited here.
We must not allow few individuals to control the economy of this country in such a manner that they will fix the price of everything.
The House resolved to invite cement manufacturers alongside the Ministers of Solid Minerals Development as well as Trade and Investment to provide answers at plenary. Meanwhile, the House is urging the federal government to accelerate the investigation of the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation in order to resume the implementation of the National Social Investment Program.
Urge the federal government to place on hold the alleged idea of a new steering committee board under the supervision of the Ministry of Finance to oversee the social investment programs, since such idea contravenes the extant laws.
Two motions drawing attention to the plight of some Bayelsa communities threatened by ocean surge and the need to resuscitate the power transmission substation in Yenagoa were also adopted.
As I talked to you, Mr. Speaker, a few days ago, about 6 communities were submerged by sea encroachment.
Urge the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, to swiftly intervene to prevent the complete collapse of the power distribution and transmission in Yenigua and in the environment.
12 bills passed first reading at Wednesday's plenary, including the Fiscal Responsibility Act Amendment Bill 2024.
President Bola Tinubu has sent the 2024 budget proposal of the Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) to the House of Representatives for consideration and subsequent passage. Now, the House also called on the security agencies to intensify search and rescue of abducted citizens who are in captivity.
We have a message from the President.
Speaker Tajuddin Abbas read the President's letter conveying the FCT administration's 2024 budget proposal, which was predicated on the 2024 to 2026 Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, as well as key assumptions in the 2024 national budget.
The FCTA is prioritizing improvement in healthcare services, job creation, youth empowerment, and increased productivity in agriculture, in order to lift as many citizens as possible out of poverty.
The House passed resolutions on security challenges in Kaduna, Benue, and Kogi states.
Mandate the Office of the National Security Advisor to coordinate and galvanize all security and intelligence networks to bring back our students, and to further develop and execute a proactive master plan to restore security.
To investigate the failure of the Nigerian Air Force Base, Makurdi, and the Joint Military Security Task Force in Makurdi, in not responding to the distress calls from Baker community and other distress calls in the state, despite proximity.
Partner with the Kogi state government in order to find a holistic and lasting solution to the perennial security challenges arising from armed robbery attacks on the town and people of Kogi state.
2 bills passed second reading, one to amend the criminal code to provide for rational punishment for attempted suicide, and another to establish the Nigerian Mining Development Bank.
That the Criminal Code Section 327 is amended to ensure that those who attempt suicide are rather given psychosocial counseling rather than sent to a year's jail term.
Arguably one of the biggest issues out of the 10th National Assembly, the bill pushing for a return to the parliamentary system of government is premised on the need to cut costs of governance. So, you and your reps asked sponsor of the bill, Kingsley Chinda, to shed light on the advantages of the system operated in Nigeria's First Republic.
Nigerian system should adopt a Nigerian solution. And looking at the cost of governance, which is taking a heavy toll on our economy, looking at our culture and nature, which has been strongly influenced by military government, a situation where you feel that, look, I am all in all. In an office where you ought to be servant of the people, you see yourself as the Lord. That's a military mentality. And so you see public officers on long convoy. And how do you stop that? It's difficult because it's like a culture, it's like a mentality. For you to stop it, there must be a fundamental change. And that's why we say that, look, we need a parliamentary system where the executive will be in parliament and be accountable to the people. You cannot have somebody who is not strong enough to be a prime minister of the country if it's a parliamentary system, because you will be there once at least in a week to answer to government policies. And people will be better informed on the decisions of government. You can even see a situation where parliamentarians at this level do not understand government policies because they are not carried along. Resolutions of parliaments are not executed by the executive arm because the executive arm are also not carried along. They don't understand the reasons why parliament should arrive at these resolutions. A parliamentary system will take care of these things for a developing country and fast-track development It will also help us when it comes to the issues of corruption, which everybody has been crying about today. Accountability will be better, transparency will be better, because you have both the executive and the legislature in the same room discussing, and the legislators are representatives of the people. So in essence, you have the people, the governed and the governors in the same room talking. And when we suggest a parliamentary system, which we are doing today, we are not talking about the textbook parliamentary system. No, sir. We are talking about a Nigerian parliamentary system. Let us start the discussion. Let us look at what is good for us. How do we fashion it? Different countries practice the parliamentary system that is good enough for them. Go to Canada, the system is different. You go to France, the system is different. Go to United Kingdom, they are not exactly the same. So we are not talking about the United Kingdom parliamentary system. We want a Nigerian parliamentary system where accountability will be stronger, transparency will be better, the cost of governance will be reduced. You have election into the parliament. There will be no election for the executive arm. And then you get the executives from the parliaments, and they will be there to be accountable to the people.
When you hear the word debate, what comes to mind is the carefully choreographed exchange of views by students. But in legislative terms, now this takes a more serious dimension. We engaged Chair of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive, to explain it.
In legislative palace, to debate an issue is to look at the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages. We look at the merits and the demerits. What are involved in this bill? Many times, particularly here in the National Assembly, the Senate and the House, the first reading of a bill is an opportunity for members to have a copy of the bill in the journal, gazetted in the journal, so that each member can go and look at it before the second reading is slated. So when it is slated for second reading, the presiding officer ensures that members are able to speak either for or against the bill. That process of that discussion, looking at the merits of the bill, is the debate to see whether this is something good for our country or not. And here in the House of Reps, many times the presiding officers will want to take those who are speaking for and then later take those who are speaking against. At the end of the day, the honorable members are able to evaluate all that they've heard for or against that bill. And the presiding officer now is able to put the question. And if more people are convinced that this is something they go for, they vote aye. And those who are not convinced, based on the outcome of the debate now, they vote nay.
This week on You and Your Reps, the committee segment features the newly inaugurated House Committee on Inter-Parliamentary Relations, chaired by Mark Esset. We asked him to talk us through the mandate of his committee.
It's a committee that interfaces with other parliamentary bodies across the globe, within and outside Nigeria. Within the country, we interface with the state houses of assembly, and outside Nigeria, we interface with other parliamentary associations, those countries that has a democratic structure in place that runs the legislative arm of government. So we interface, like we are a member of the IPU, International Parliamentary Union. We have the CPA, Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and we also have the Caribbean Parliamentary Associations, another ones which Nigeria is part and parcel of it. So we interface as a committee on behalf of the National Assembly on those areas, the laws, the treaties, the charters that are made by the government of Nigeria through the legislature, made by the National Assembly, and also look at how we can, if there are amendments that can be done. You know, the only permanent thing is change. Nothing is static. As a country, as the world evolves, there are changes. So we also look at those areas. What are the charters that Nigeria has entered into? What are those legislative engagements we have entered into that needs to be amended? It's been very, very rewarding experience. The committee is a very serious committee of the House of Representatives. It's a very important one and very vital to its success. And during the inauguration of the committee, to show the importance of the committee, it was the Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Benjamin Carlo Kezi, that did the inauguration of the committee. And he did mention during the inauguration that the committee has a pivotal role to play, especially in this constitutional review. Engagement with the State House of Assembly, with the principal officers, to ensure that we have a smooth process. You know, it now has been this experience where the National Assembly will spend money, will spend time, will spend energy in reviewing the Constitution and sending into the State Houses of Assembly. You see the bills that has been worked upon by the National Assembly just being discarded. And at the end of it all, the effort by the National Assembly becomes in vain. So this time around, we've agreed to have a very smooth and a successful program. There must be that engagement, and the Inter-Parliamentary Committee has a very pivotal role to play, which we've set machineries in motion towards this. The members are well positioned, very ready. They are poised to ensure that in this 10th Assembly, this committee leave a legacy, a positive legacy behind. There's seriously going to be a departure because we've started the engagement. The feedback I am receiving from speakers is that we are ready to work together. What I saw as being the hindrance was lack of communication. You don't just wake up one morning, send documents to the House of Assembly, tell them just give us a concurrent assent to it, without engagement. So I decided to do the things in a different way. That is why I said we've started the engagement, and it has been very, very welcoming. The assessment is very, very encouraging, and by God's grace, so Nigeria should expect that this time around, we desire to give what we call the People's Constitution back to Nigerians, and by God's grace, we will succeed. What is important by the items listed, which more are still coming like me, I am having these, I'm also sponsoring a bill which has to be included in the constitutional review, the review of the resource allocations to the states. If we want to practice true federalism, where states will only contribute in terms of tax to the center, it will give room for competitions where they will not have to wait at the end of the month to come to Abuja and begin to look for allocation. You have to look inward. So I am championing that bill, which the constitutional review will also work on it, that the constitution has to be amended to give room to federalism, where the allocations to states based on their contribution be reviewed upward. And also the state police, we've come a long way. It is everybody's dream. We cannot run away from the truth. You know, what has happened in Nigeria is that we keep on postponing evil deeds. For example, when Jonathan came up with this subsidy removal, the whole country, as if Jonathan has done committed the worst sin in his entire life. And now everybody's clamoring for subsidy removal. What we would have done some 7 years back, and by now the whole system would have stabilized. We are doing it now. So the issue of state police is very, very important. We have to take the bulls by the horn. The issue of autonomy of the local government, the State House of Assembly, the judiciary, is a thing that we cannot run away. Political office holders must be held accountable for what they do. There must be check and balance in whatever is happening in the system. Without this, there is no way Nigeria will work. So we are ready to make this happen this time around. So in the National Assembly, the process headed by the Deputy Speaker is going on smoothly and has the backing of the members. Yeah, you've talked about the change of government. We're not keen about that. It's some person's view. But to me, when they say cost of governance, I don't really. How many members do we have in the National Assembly? How many members do we have in the Senate? Is that the reason there is poverty in the country? It is not. All what we need is the willpower, the political willpower, to change things around. We should begin to question the sources of income of politicians. Who were you before now? What were you doing before you assumed public office? Well, once we do this, everybody will be held accountable. In an advanced country, there are laws. You cannot, gratification is a very serious crime. For you to get gratification, you must declare it. And the intent and the purpose must be known to have no favoritism behind it. But that is not the case in Nigeria. So to me, as a parliamentarian, I don't see the presidential system as having any defect in our system. It is a welcome development. It gives room for check and balance. It gives room for people's voices to be heard. For example, now, I come from one of my own village. It's one of the very most interior village. My being here as a people's representative has given me the opportunity to speak for them. We've been able to attract potable water to my place, electricity, road network. Kitoto, without my representation here, who the minister doesn't know of works doesn't know my village. The minister for waters doesn't know my village. Neither the DJ of rural electrification knows my village. That would have taken light. But due to my representation here, my village has been recognized, and those social amenities has been provided. So there's nothing wrong with it. It is a very well thought, structured system of government. What we need to do as politicians and public office holders is for us to have the will and the political powers, the will powers and the political powers to rewrite the wrongs of these nations, and things will work for good.
I guess that's one to keep a keen eye on. And that's been you and your reps. We thank you for keeping us company. I am Victor Azu. Join us again.